This portion of the CU podcast is sponsored by NordVPN. It's what I use to keep myself safe online, and you can too. If you care about the privacy and the security of your information, NordVPN is giving you 70% off a 3-year plan, Ian. That's only $349 a month. When you go to nordvpn.com/CU podcast or use code CU podcast at checkout. Plus, Ian, you get an extra month of NordVPN for free.
VPN stands for Virtual Private Network, and today having a VPN is more critical than ever. Why? If you're doing anything online, your information and browsing habits are out there for anyone to get a hold of. When you use NordVPN, you have access to over 4,000 super speedy servers in 62 countries, and those connections secure your information using military-grade encryption. That means your information and what you do online is nearly impossible to track.
And NordVPN has some really cool features like an automatic kill switch, which means it'll shut off your internet if you're disconnected from the VPN. It even works in China and Middle East countries like the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia. I'm using the NordVPN app on my phone and laptop, so that means I'm getting free Wi-Fi at the coffee shop, when I'm traveling, at an airport, whatever. I know things like my passwords and banking info are masked. The folks at PC Mag made NordVPN their editor's top VPN choice. They gave it a perfect score. Just one account lets you protect up to 6 devices. There's an app for Android and iOS devices and phones. You get unlimited bandwidth, and there's a money-back guarantee. Again, to get that special offer, you go to nordvpn.com/CU podcast or use code CU podcast at checkout, and that gets you 70% off a 3-year plan. Only $349 a month with an extra month of NordVPN for free. Again, that's nordvpn.com/CU podcast. Get going with your web browsing, secure web browsing today. All right, Ian.
So
there's some backlash happening with this Enchanted Portals game, which is interesting. We might have a different take on this, but let's see what this is about.
So Enchanted Portals is a game that's up on Kickstarter right now. It's
it's coming to Kickstarter.
Oh, it's coming to Kickstarter.
October 24th. I believe.
It's a run-and-gun shooter in the vein of Contra, or in the vein of a game called Cuphead, it uses similar art. It uses a similar art style. It uses the rubber hose art style that was popular in the early 1900s for cartoons.
The 30s, late 20s to the 30s, yeah. Where everything's wavy and bouncing and moving.
Yep, and they all have Pac-Man eyes. The company by Zizo Game Studio has received a shitload of backlash online after the trailer has come out, because it's obviously trying to do the rubber hose art style, which Cuphead did, and it's using the exact same style of gameplay that Cuphead did, which is the run-and-gun shooter.
You're two like witches, a boy and a girl, and you're shooting
instead of cups
with a wand, and then you're flipping in the air and doing a twist turn, which is like Cuphead and also Contra, where you do like a somersault in the air.
And it's been shown that a lot of the bosses look similar. There's similar boss patterns, similar boss setups. There's the sitting boss. There's a big boss that looms over a wall like it also does in Cuphead. So it's being called a ripoff, and it's been getting a lot of shit. I'm kind of two thoughts on here.
Well, first, I'm going to say the trailer's backlash in the trailer. The trailer has 200,000 views. It's almost 6,000 thumbs up and almost 6,000 thumbs down on it. So it's like split there.
It's split. And
cooperative 2D platformer.
I don't necessarily believe that they deserve all the backlash they're getting. However, I think it's very silly of them to expect that they would not have gotten backlash when it's not just the art style, it's not just the gameplay, it's also various setups. Like some of the boss setups look incredibly similar. I don't think that just because it was the same art style or the same gameplay, it would necessarily constitute something that should receive a lot of backlash. But I mean,
because art styles, everyone mimics different art styles.
It's true, but almost no one's been using this art style. And run and guns are not popular. So to take the same art style and make another run and gun with it definitely says we want some of that Cuphead money. I'm sorry, there's no way to say it other than that. But especially when you're trying to go for similar boss setups and levels. Sure. I mean, structures.
It's what's called in the game world. It's actually one step. It's not exactly a clone. It's above a clone, but it's just derivative of the genre.
Yeah. That said, video games are like this all over the place. I think it's the art style being somewhat unique and not used very often that is really that's really giving it a lot of that's causing them a lot of problems. Like I said, there are some other issues in terms of what looked to be similar enemy setups and things like that. But I mean, I'm sure at some point someone thought that an RPG that was done with an anime style was also derivative of something else. That said, I don't see there eventually ever being naturally a whole bunch of rubber hose art style shooters. Like, it's obvious what they're trying. I'm sorry. To me, it's clearly obvious that they want people to look at it and go Cuphead and buy it.
Yeah, because you're allowed to do the same genre of a game.
Sure.
I mean, otherwise you could say all the first-person shooters are all rip-offs of each other. It's probably, yes. It's the strong way. It's the incorporation of this very particular animation style that it's not used ever in modern. Like, you can't find anything animated in this anymore. Like in entertainment, you just don't for a reason. And the fact that it's a shooter, and it even looks like, I haven't even played that much Cuphead, but yeah, the way you move looks similar.
The way they jump in,
the way you shoot looks similar.
The way things are set up.
Yeah,
and that's my problem with it.
Well, that's lazy. That's obviously lazy.
Yeah, they
could have changed it up a bit, but maybe they said we want to, the amount of effort obviously for this game is still a ton by the animation.
Sure.
It's not like they're stealing the artwork. They're not stealing the assets. They still have to draw this shit. They still have to code it somewhat, unless they somehow got the source code to how everything shoots. But I'm guessing some of that's out of the box, game code you can get. You know what I mean? Like, you can get some of this stuff. I don't know. I think you should be allowed to do a game like this, and if it changes enough of the style, then so be it. If not, it doesn't do well. And then they don't make another game like this. Like you said, the run and gun genre is not a big genre. It just isn't anymore. And Cuphead wouldn't have been as big as it was if it didn't have that particular animation style.
It also feels very. I mean, it's an incredibly responsive and snappy game.
So if this feels nice, people will like it. If it feels like crap, people won't play it probably at all. But the amount of attention this game's gotten from this is insane. I'm not sure if they realize they'd get this sort of backlash doing this. I don't know, but it's worked out for them because the audience now is going to be bigger no matter what. Because if people like Cuphead and are like, you know what, I want to play a game similar, and I don't see a Cuphead sequel coming around, they'll play this. I mean, they'll try it. Why not?
The views that I saw online were split very, obviously very extreme. It was, this is awful, harass these people. Which
those are not real people.
That's awful.
That's the incel crowd, yeah.
And then there are the people who are tripping over themselves, I feel like, to defend it and be like, well, you can do this. I'm like, you can. But that doesn't mean that you're not. Yeah. You have to be careful about that.
Let's be clear. This is not copyright infringement in any way.
No.
This is not trademark infringement. You're allowed to ape a style of game. You're allowed to do it. Otherwise, there'd be no video games.
I mean, there's Dark Souls. I mean, there's similar Dark Souls clones all over them. I mean, the market. Those. I mean, that do things very similar. Like, I'm playing Code Vein. Code Vein has something called Missile that acts just like a fire and does the exact same thing. Yeah. So, I mean, that happens from game to game. I think it's just because it's a very unique art style here. Dark Souls is largely dark fantasy. That's a broad thing. Rubber hose animation is a lot more narrow than, say, dark fantasy. And then you mix it with the run and gun gameplay, similar animations in terms of how they actually move, boss setup, and I think that's the problem.
Yeah, boss setup. I'm looking at the boss setup comparison. I think that's what's most troubling to me personally.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's not. It's all of it together. If someone had just done a rubber hose run and gun that was more of an homage to Cuphead, I don't think anyone would be receiving this sort of backlash. Yeah, it's the fact that it's all so similar.
Yeah, it sounds like they're following the ebbs and flows of the game. It looks like, because I'm looking at it. There's a comparison picture between the different bosses shown in both, and how the setups are somewhat similar. It's both sitting on a chair, hitting the piano notes versus a guy above. Looks like with a gambling setup, playing some sort of gambling game. Dragons, and
it's got the same beats.
Two ships on the right side of the screen. So yeah, it has the same beats. I think that's where it inches towards the clone territory more. Now, it's not like here's the thing. When Pac-Man came out, there wasn't really a maze game genre that existed, and Pac-Man helped blow it up. And then there was dozens and dozens of Pac-Man clones that came out. They were allowed to exist. And some aped closer and closer to Pac-Man than others. Some like Ladybug really changed it up, or Mousetrap changed it up. But there were some that were literally go around and collect items and stay away from the enemies chasing you, with nothing else different about it.
Sure.
And they existed at the time because there wasn't a lot of genres for video games. Now, yes, now that there's so many more, it's probably less excusable to have something come inching this much closer. So that's all I'm going to say. It's like, it's a shame that they couldn't do something that much different, but they're aping a successful product.
Yeah.
And
I would love to see this get changed up a bit, because for a 2-person team, the art is cute and they're doing, a pretty good job with it.
it's just kind of unfortunate.
Yeah, you could have done this and made your own game without continuing down the whatever. It's a bummer. I don't wish them any harm. I hope that they I hope that they get out of this.
There's a ton of work put into this. If this animation's all somewhat hand drawn or fakey looking hand drawn.